Welcome back everyone. In this lecture, as I have told you earlier, we are going to use some brute force attack. Unlike our previous vulnerabilities, which were some misconfiguration, and unlike our previous vulnerabilities and misconfiguration, this attack is simply different. And you can label this vulnerability as weak password vulnerability also. So brute force attack involves a systematically attempting multiple combination of credentials to gain an authorized access over our network, and in this section we will demonstrate how we can perform a brute force attack. So now what is a brute force attack? A brute force attack involves sending packets or sending a combination of username and passwords to our target machine, and it helps to identify valid credentials. In most cases this means trying different username and password until the correct combination is found. Use case of this attack is very simple. You just have to find default or weak credentials and exploit these short and easy to guess password. In the real world scenarios, most easy to guess passwords are like password123 and password or admin123 or whatever the name of your target and then 123. So these are some easy to guess passwords in real life, but when we are trying these on a vulnerable machine, we have to perform a brute force attack. And preparing for a brute force attack for this demonstration, we will target an SSH login using Metasploit framework, and we will use our Metasploitable as a target system in this video, and we will use a list of potential username and password. Although we know what their password and what their username is, that is MSF admin, we will still demonstrate how this brute force attack really works. So it might be considered as cheating, but as far as we are learning, there is nothing called cheating. And we are going to automate our process of brute force attack using an auxiliary module. We are not going to type by ourselves, we will just use an auxiliary module for it. So we will just land in our Metasploit console and we will type search SSH, and as we can see we have multiple exploits here, but we are not looking for exploit. What we are looking for is auxiliary module, and as we can see on the number 97 we have an auxiliary module for scanner SSH version, but we are not looking for version, we are looking for login. So if we scroll a little bit up, we can see on number 75 we have auxiliary module of scanner SSH login. So we will just copy it here, and its description says it is for SSH login. That means we will use it as a. So now let's just type use and we will paste the path of our SSH login auxiliary module and we'll hit enter, and as we can see we are in our auxiliary module. So if we type options here, we can see we have a lot of options in front of us, and as we can see here there are many fields required to change. Now as you can see here, this option says password. So if we want a single password to be entered, we can set a single password here. As the description says, a specific password to authenticate with. But if we want to upload a whole list of file that contains passwords, we have to set a pass file here. So we will create a pass file and we will set the path in this option. Then we have to set our target's IP address, as we all know since we are using this from previous lecture, and our port. Now our port is set to 22. So if we just go back and check in our nmap scan if it is really true or not. So as you can see on port 22, service of SSH is running. So let's go back to our Metasploit, and then on the lower section we see we can specify a particular username here, as well as we can specify a password, and also we can use a user pass file. Now user pass file is something we can give input as username and password in a same file that is separated by space, one pair per line. But we are not going to use user pass file, we are going to use this option. As in this case we are going to create two separate files, one for password and one for user file. So now let's create a file for username and password, and to do that we have to just type nano and we will name it pass.txt, and now we will type some passwords here. So like main kernel admin123 msf admin msf console and user123. Now we will save it and we will exit here, and now we will create a file for username and we will name it user.txt. Now we will give some certain username as input, so we will type main again, then dark, then vuln, then kernel, then msf admin user123. So let's save it here and exit. Now since we have created these two files, now let's go to our Metasploit once again, and here we will set our path file. But because we have to set the whole path, let's check their path. So type ls, and as we can see, these files are inside our home directory, I guess. So we will type pwd, and as we can see, we are inside our Kali directory. So we will just copy this path. We will go back to our Metasploit and we will type set path file, paste this selection home Kali and path.txt. So just type hit enter, and as we can see, the path for our path file is set here. And now we will set our user path file, user file. So if we type set user file, then name the directory here, and we will type now the file name of our username, and as we can see, it has set here. So if we will type options now, we can see the path to these two files is set here, and now we have to set our target's IP address. So we will type our host and type the IP address of our Metasploitable, that is 192.168.29.122, and if we type options, here we can see the IP address of our target is set. Now what we have to set one more thing is this verbose file, verbose option to true, because if we type false, it won't give us the result of failed passwords, and if we set this option to true, it will give us all the failed passwords also. So let's just set verbose to true and hit enter, and now if we type run, as you can see, the brute force is started and we are getting some failed passwords here as well, and let's wait till we get the right combination of password here. Okay, now as we can see, after all the failed password, there is a success between them. So it says msf admin and msf admin is the right combination, and since it says the session 1 is opened and still we are not inside the SSH terminal, we are not inside the terminal. So what we can do is, like this auxiliary module or SSH login always keeps a session running in background. So since we now know the password, we just have to type here session. We just have to type sessions to know if there is session running behind or not. So as we can see, there is a one active session and ID is 1 and shell type is Linux SSH Kali @ and the connection is established from our Kali Linux machine to this Metasploitable, and it is also showing which port is using our Kali Linux machine and which port it is getting connected to our target machine. So let's just type here session -i and the ID. In my case the ID is 1, and I guess in your case the ID is 1 too. So let's just hit enter. Okay, so we have a error here. We just have to type sessions here instead of session, and now the interaction is started. So if we type who am I here, it says msf admin, and now we have to bypass this to get root access. So we will just type sudo su and it will ask for the password, and we know what is the password, so we will just type msf admin, and if we type now who am I, it will give us the root, and if we check the present working directory, it says home msf admin. So we are all set. We can do anything here as we know, and since we know what is the password now and what port we are using, we can just simply go on our terminal and just first clear this all, and we will type ssh msf admin @ and the msf admin is the username of our target, and we will type the target's IP address. So now by using this command, we encounter a error which you might also encounter. So how you can solve this? So it says that this SSH RSA and SSH DSS algorithm is missing in the SSH configuration file. So you just have to type ls here and go back to your root directory and now you have to type cd ssh/configure. So as we are in the root directory now, just locate to this ext file. So we will type cd etc file and we will type ls once again, and here you want to find the ssh directory. So just type cd ssh and we will hit enter, and now here you want to navigate to the config file. So this is the config file, so you have to just type nano ssh_config. So now here you have to add two phrases, and those are these two phrases. So just save them, enter and exit. Hit yes. Now we will hit enter. Now just exit this file and try that command again. So we will just type, we will go back to our terminal here and open a new terminal and try that again. So ssh msf admin @ and then we will type the target's IP address. So now we have got permission denied. That means this thing have a root privilege. So we will just cancel it out. We will exit from this. We have to type sudo nano ssh@config and we have to type password for sudo privileges. We will scroll down and now we will paste this, and as we hit ctrl-o, enter, ctrl-x, now it is configured. So now go back to a terminal and here we will type this command again, and now it is asking for if you are sure to continue connecting. We will type yes and we have to type yes. Okay, so now it's asking for password and we know the password is msf admin. As we hit enter, as you can see, we are again inside our metasploitable. We can bypass sudo privileges, typing sudo su and typing the admin password, and as we can see, we are again inside our metasploitable. That's how you can brute force an attack and gain access to any vulnerable device if it has weak password and guessable password. We will meet in the next lecture.